made a somewhat laconic remark on Twitter recently, saying that low expectations are no defense against disappointment. Huge ambitions are a defense against disappointment. And, I meant it. As inscrutable as that comment may be, it's sincere. I'm not just joking around. Having big ambitions, having big plans, trying to accomplish something great in your life, and having great disappointments, great sorrows, great tragedies in your life, it really does put things in perspective. Me and my girlfriend, we were killing time at the airport today. I was putting my girlfriend on the plane. We were both talking about events in our lives, in other relationships, other boyfriends, other girlfriends, before we got together. And, the problems we had there with these people kind of throwing tantrums and freaking out over dishes, doing the dishes and doing the laundry and this kind of stuff. And how we just didn't see those types of conflicts that way. And I said to her, the kind of ambition I've had in life, the kind of sorrow I've had in life, there were periods in my life, this came up in even conversations, somebody like Jeff Nelson. I can describe what went on with me in Cambodia as a succession of failures, that everything I wanted to do in Cambodia failed with no false humility. From a certain perspective, that's true. And I can also talk about it as a great experience I learned a lot from, and as something really worthwhile I did with my life, and something that may be more worthwhile than what Jeff does with his life. I'm detached about it in both ways. In in the sorrow and the suffering and in what I learned from it. But what I aspire to do, the scope of the ambition itself, really does make the whole experience more meaningful. And it puts those kinds of setbacks in perspective. What do we mean when we say that something is in perspective? Perspective is the difference between seeing something as big and seeing something as small. Right? You have to have some perspective and realize this isn't a big problem. It's just real close to me, right? As opposed to maybe something else is a big problem, but it's further away. That's what we mean by having perspective. It's easy to forget the literal and limited meaning of what that's really supposed to be. So look, got into this relationship with this young woman. It's going great. I mean, it's not just going great, it's an understatement. Both she and I are really looking at this now as the last relationship we're ever going to have, as being as serious as marriage, as being, a relationship that's going to last the rest of our lives, which is fabulous, which is great. It's better than could be reasonably expected by anyone from so many different angles. And, she had to sacrifice a lot to get her shot at love, so to speak, to have her chance. I was living in China. She was living in the United States. She had to overcome a whole bunch of hurdles on her end. And, it's a very asymmetrical situation because she'd watched probably several hundred of my YouTube videos. She'd read my articles. She had a very, very good understanding of who I was before she even started talking to me. And I didn't know who she was yet. So it's not your usual kind of flirtation. It's not your usual kind of seduction, whatever you want to say. And it was made even more unusual by the fact that, she already had a boyfriend at the time when she started talking to me. And so she was talking to me as just friends. And we went through those conversations and we got to know each other as just friends. But it was pretty obvious pretty soon from my end that, even if I were not in the picture, she and her boyfriend really should break up. So, this is a story that unfolded over many months. It is what it is. there was a lot for me to reflect on in that. I don't want to talk about it in terms of, me winning and this other guy losing. But one of the most stark and striking differences between me and this other boyfriend that had been in her life up to a certain point is that issue of ambition, of having huge ambitions. In every relationship, you're going to waste a lot of time. I just spent several hours at the airport just to say goodbye. You're going to do the dishes together. You're going to do the laundry together. You're going to have all the doldrums of the everyday activities that draw couples together and that drive them apart. Everybody wastes time. I think nobody likes to sit down and calculate how many hours of the day they're really spending doing something useful and how many they're spending could be considered a waste from one perspective or another, right? I taught class today for 4 hours. I lectured in a classroom for 4 hours today. But on a level that I can't call subconscious, on a level that's not very deep and not very hidden at all, for the woman in your life, for the significant other in your life, for the partner in your life, it makes all the difference in the world when they're going through those minor frustrations with you, whether it's the laundry or the dishes. If they know that you're trying to accomplish something great, and maybe it's just something that's great to you, maybe it's just something that matters to you, if they know you've got that passion and that drive and that ambition, it justifies so much of the struggle on their end, their struggle to support you, their struggle to be a meaningful part of your life. And, by contrast, we just have such a culture in the decadent West, in the modern Western world now, of saying that your life is just about your enjoyment, that, life should just consist of an endless series of video games, that life should just be an endless series of opening weekend matinees, that life is merely about being entertained and entertaining others. And on the most intimate level of, boyfriend and girlfriend, man and wife, I think that people in my generation, the great majority of them, they don't understand how you're demoralizing the woman who loves you, how you're demoralizing the man who loves you, how you're undermining the basic premise of the relationship itself, just because you're expecting that person to wake up every morning and help you with breakfast and wash the dishes for you and do your laundry for you and support you and care about you and listen to you and support your aspirations, when your aspirations are nothing, or your aspirations are trivial, your aspirations are worthless, your aspirations are contemptible, maybe even in your own eyes. Right? So there are a lot of really strong foundations to the relationship I've just started with this woman. A lot. I'm not going to list them. I'm not even going to give 4 or 5 examples. I'm not. But there are many different ways in which this relationship is starting off on a very, very firm basis. But obviously, one of them is the enormity of the ambition that I have for the future of veganism as a movement, which is something she relates to, something that she first made her interested in my channel, first drew her toward me. And obviously, those are ambitions she sympathizes with and, wants to support. Now, maybe those ambitions in the next 5 years are only going to be exhibited in little ways. Maybe it's going to be publishing this children's book, getting it illustrated, and so on. Maybe it's going to be a whole bunch of little projects like that, a whole bunch of little fundraisers. Maybe it's going to be a whole bunch of days where it slightly inconveniences her that I want to record a YouTube video, talk about vegan politics, or it inconveniences both of us that we're going to go to a protest or go to a meeting. Little things. Washing somebody's laundry or helping them out, those are little things too. But People want to know that their time is not being wasted. People want to know that their love is not being wasted. People want to know that they're not being patient and supportive and understanding for nothing. I don't think anybody out there, you can talk about love as unconditional. Anybody with 2 brain cells, they're going to know the difference. They're going to feel the difference between supporting someone who's just living their life to smoke weed, play video games, watch movies, make themselves happy, and somebody who has an aspiration of any kind to do something that matters to somebody, even if it's just something that matters to the 2 people in that relationship or in that marriage. That's enough for now.